Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Travis Straw, and you're listening to Frantic Purpose. And this new series is called My Ongoing Affair with Lady Luck. It's about my gambling journey. Now, I have not been a lifelong gambler. I mean, I guess in a way we all are in life, randomly making choices and hoping they work out. But I mean, in the literal sense, like going to a casino, putting money in a machine, and attempting to make that money larger rather than smaller. So I'll just get to it. My gambling journey didn't start off good, and not in the way that you think. I went to Las Vegas around like 2017, it must have been. And I'd never been. I'm familiar with like the lore. I've seen the Hangover movies. And I like it. I like the idea of Vegas. I like the idea of chaos. I've always enjoyed chaos, and I've always kind of thrived in chaos and the idea of having some drinks and maybe winning some money. I wasn't even thinking about gambling um a lot. I just thought I'd be kind of like a ghost wandering the casinos of the Vegas Strip, and I hadn't really thought about it. I thought slot machines were trash. I thought basically what most people think, that gambling is for suckers. I went to Vegas and I was in a terrible relationship at the time, so that kind of defined the whole thing. I left not even wanting to go back. I never really even thought about it again. I didn't think romantically about Lady Luck, meaning Vegas, and the Vegas vibe, as I say. I didn't think about it at all. And it wasn't until years later, 2019, so not that long, 2 years later, that I returned back to San Francisco. I got a new job at OpSWAT, and I met Stephen Goforth, someone I would work with for and know for ever since then. And OpSWAT was acquiring a company, and I had just arrived at OpSWAT, I think in like August of 2019, and they acquired the company in December, and they were in Tampa Bay. And Steven said, "I'm going to be going," and I'm like, "Sure, why not? I know nothing tying me down." I flew to Tampa. I have nothing. When I go somewhere, I don't have preconceived grievances or hatred in my heart. My goal is to understand the people and the culture and what makes it beautiful. And I know that sounds corny, but I'm a corny guy. And I love the heat. I love humidity. I love the beach. And Tampa Bay had all of those things. So the place that we were acquiring was right next to a Hard Rock casino, which I had not stayed in a casino before, and didn't really think much of it. I didn't care. The smell of smoke in the air and everything. I used to smoke. I don't care about people smoking around me. It doesn't bother me. I kind of like, it's like nostalgia. It's like nostalgia in smoke form. So walking through with Steve, and I'm with like the CEO is there, the like the all the heads are there, and then there's me. I'm there to assess assets and network security and all the IT stuff. And even as I walked through a Hard Rock, I did not care. I didn't like, none of them called out to me. None of the machines called out to me. It was very just a hotel with a noisy lobby. And so the trip wasn't too long, and you know at that time I drank more. Not as much as I did in the military, but Steven was a veteran like me, so when you put us together, we usually get to drinking a little bit. So we invited some people down to Ybor City in Tampa Bay, which was very fun, good time. It's so funny because we were walking around going to bars, and me and Steven, we're silly dudes, and I'm a silly guy. You get me drinking on a bar crawl. I'm talking up a storm and doing generally funny stuff, just having a good time. I'm a lighthearted guy. And I'm like, we're at this club, and like barely anyone's in this thing. It's hilariously empty, and there's this like club music going, and there's some boxes for dancing on. So I'm like, hey, Steven. And Steven is a small man. No offense, Steven. I know you're not listening to this, and I know you're small. He's a small, like, overweight man. Again, no offense. I know you know this. And he makes fun of himself for it, but like, so he's small. He's like 5'7", 5'6", and I'm 6'3", and I'm like, of course, the thinner back then by like 15, 20 pounds. And you know, we're up. It's hilarious. Like, imagine that. Like, we're just dancing on separate boxes, mind you. Don't get any ideas. We're we were just dancing. We didn't even think about it. And then as I was looking at the crowd, I'm seeing it's all dudes, and come to find, I have a realization. I think this is a gay club, right? No offense. I laughed. We laughed. We still laugh about it to this day. So at the end of the night, I were coming back to the hotel, the casino, and I have, like, I don't know, I think like $50 in my pocket or something like that. And I'm not ready to go to bed. I still want to like have some more drinks. I want to work on the buzz a little bit more, get a little drunk, a little bit over the edge, so that I can be like tired. Back then it was way hard for me to go to bed. So I'm like, Mark, this guy who worked at OpSWAT, also was interested in just hanging out. And to be honest, he may have been interested in me, because he liked men. But that's neither here nor there. I was happy to have his company as we walked the casino, and I saw what I've never seen before, a automated roulette wheel. I'm like, my previous understanding of roulette was that, a person was there and you had to like put the chips down, and this one featured a nice digital screen where I can just, in my own time, put my bets down, and then the after a certain allotted time, the wheel would start rolling, and then you'd wait for it to drop to see if you won. And me and Mark sat down, and I'm like, I saw these row bets, as I call them. Like in roulette, you could put your chip on the side of a row, a whole row. So there's only 3 rows. So what I did was I put 25 on one row and 25 on another row, the top and bottom, and I let it go. I was like, let's try that. I'll lose, and then I'll go to bed. And I won. So in that bet, I ended up winning 25 more dollars because it pays out 2-1. So essentially you lose 25, but you gain 2 more 25. So ultimately you win $25. So if you put 50-50, you'd win $50. If you did 100-100, you'd win $100. And that's what I ended up doing. And Mark was confused. And I was confused because my understanding was that gambling, you experience loss, but I was not. I ended up winning like $400 off of just consecutive row bets that felt correct. And I was like, huh. And the rest of the trip, I kind of casually kept playing roulette, and I won, I think, like $700 over the trip of like 4 or 5 days. And that was cool. But I mean, ultimately, it didn't do anything other than spark an interest, a question. Is gambling for suckers? Is that true? Because I won. And I'm not some egotistical maniac to where I'm just like, if I win, I'll win forever. Of course not. It's all just numbers. If you put the two row bets, you have like almost a 2/3 chance of winning, but barring the house edge, which are the green, the 0 and the 0, 0, which do hit. So from 2019 to 2021, you know what happened. It was COVID. And I wasn't really thinking too hard about gambling. It was kind of in the back of my mind, but not a lot. Lady Luck had stung me. And the poison, I don't want to say poison because that makes it seem like it's bad. That love potion was starting to slowly seep into my bloodstream. And it wasn't until October 19th, 2021, that it kind of had percolated and become a desire, not only because of COVID, like we had all been shut in and deprived of society and our creature comforts. And in a way, my gambling journey became something because of that perfect kind of sandwich of the 2019 Hard Rock incident where me and Lady Luck met. And she was nice to me. She was sweet to me. Sweeter than she is to most people. And that left me with a good feeling. And from that point to 2021, having all of this insane deprivation of all things we all knew. Everyone's depressed. There's chaos. There's Black Lives Matter. There's people dying. They're just like absolute insanity. Casinos were now allowing people to come to Vegas again. Even though I think they were always trying to like angle because they were losing money. They were losing so much money. And because of that too, there were a lot of great deals on suites. So in that time sandwich, I had developed a kind of romantic feeling for Lady Luck, And so suddenly I was thinking more romantically about the whole thing. And even though in 2021 I would meet the woman who would become later my wife, I had planned. I got a new job at CBS Paramount in San Francisco. I was the IT manager there, and I was working with this guy, Justin, and we talked the whole day. We chatted. And at that point, I was like, I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to get a Vegas suite at the Bellagio because I'm a big Ocean's 11 fan too. And I'm going to do the Vegas birthday, like a weekend, 2 nights. And I'm going to get a nice suite with a nice view. I'm going to treat myself. And that was kind of the first time I was starting to do this kind of thing. When I came back to San Francisco, I promised myself that I'd start treating myself like I was worth something. Because my whole life up until then, I really had struggled with that. Self-worth was hard for me. And I always found people and friends and women in general who would treat me like trash. And I couldn't will myself to get myself out of these relationships until they had fully died. And I was just emaciated, emotionally emaciated, like curb stomped on the street. So something I promised myself was that I wouldn't find, I'd find someone who would care for me, that I could start a family with. And until then, everybody else in between, who cares? And I'm going to start spending money on myself. And I'm a frugal guy. In general, I've saved a good amount of money. I have no debt. I don't buy things often. I do like being generous with my family and people I love, but that's every now and then. Like, who cares? And my new job at CBS, like, I had put some money. I decided all the rules, right? I was like, okay, the way you win at gambling, right? I started coming up with my own theory that I would then test with this first deliberate time where I'm going to Vegas to try and have a good time, like in the movies. And I'm like, well, the first thing I need to do is come up with a way to determine my bankroll. And also, when that happens, the bankroll is solid. No, you cannot go beyond that. You cannot get more money. If you run out of money, you're done. Find something else to do. So I decided that I would do a dice throw, and that dice throw would determine how much money I was able to gamble. I believe that when I arrived in Vegas, I found a store, and they're very easy to find, that sold dice. And I bought these kind of translucent red dice that say Frank on them because I'm also a big fan of Frank Sinatra. And I rolled a 7. So I had $700 as my bankroll, which was fine. And I reserved a nice meal at Prime Steakhouse in the Bellagio, and I decided, I'd just cruise the strip and see what it's all about, see if I could win. And so I also started, and if you're gonna start gambling, right? This series is also about like making sure that if you're someone who wants to enjoy gambling and understand gambling, and you don't want to be afraid of gambling, you want to have a nice time. Like for me, I don't go to shows. I like baseball. I could watch baseball from a bar for anywhere for free. I'll go to games, but I really don't spend a lot of money. So I reserve money for gambling. Sometimes it's not a lot. It's 700 bucks. But if you think about it, like even for me, I don't buy coffee. I don't buy like a lot of stuff. So like if you buy a cup of coffee every day, I don't know, at Starbucks, what's that, like $5, right? Some fancy coffee. $5 a day. That's $25 a week for your business week. That's $100 every month, and 100 times, that's $1,200 a year. So if you just don't buy that coffee, there's your bankroll if you want. And that's the way I kind of see it. I'm like, okay, and I budget and whatever. I I put aside money for what I like to do entertainment wise, which is throw down the chips to see if I can win some, right? That's how it all started. And oh boy, what you should do, and absolutely, if you are going to lose your money at a casino or win money at a casino, you should not even start unless you have a loyalty card for that casino. And you may think like, oh, they're tracking blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter, right? It does not matter, because the benefits, which we'll talk about later, outweigh I don't even know about anything negative. Like I have loyalty cards for every casino that I've ever gambled at, because the benefits are just insane. So just remember that. So I went to the Bellagio, had a nice steak dinner, and I'm like, all right, rolled a 7, let's go. And I thought I was going to, get a little buzz on, cruise the strip. No big deal. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought I was going to like go to some famous strip club or something, get into the Sin City portion. And I comically did none of that. all I did was walk from casino to casino to casino, observing, watching, practicing, applying my theories, etc., whatever. I had 0 points for MGM, right? I didn't even really get what the loyalty programs were for, but I had 0 points. And generally, when you're doing slots, per dollar is what you get when like per dollar you'll get points, and those points get you tiers, and those tiers get you benefits that are escalating based on whatever tier you're on. And that's important to know, because by the time I had exhausted my bankroll, which was very late at night. That's right. I had won and lost and won and lost and won and lost and won and lost. I was on some sort of hot streak, in the sense that I was just cycling that bankroll like a crazy person, and I didn't touch alcohol at all. I don't even think I ate, because I was just enamored as I practiced these theories, which is essentially the row bets. And then during that, I decided to, like, later on, I would add row bets plus what I call insurance, which is a chip in between the zeros, the 0 and the 0, 0. So then basically the only way you lose is if it hits any number on that row you don't have a chip on. And by the end of that night, by the end of that trip, I had 75,000 points in MGM rewards. And I didn't know what that meant until they deployed their loyalty program methods, which is essentially saying you could stay in Vegas or our properties for free. We will give you $100 to $200 of resort credit for you to eat and drink, and we'll give you $50 to $100 in free play. And I didn't understand really what that meant, that the 70-something thousand, but it boosted me to a tier that I didn't know I was at, like all this crazy stuff. But it didn't matter, because like I'd come to find that out later when they started emailing me about like the loyalty program rewards, which we'll talk about in a later episode. I discovered that I love Vegas. And I love Vegas because it is what you make it. Lady Luck and I got to know each other that night in a way that was intimate. She understands me and I understand her. If you want to win, you will lose. If you think you can do anything to win, like my theories and stuff, you may win, but ultimately you can still lose. The odds are stacked against you. And you could have your theories, but I mean, in the end, if you're not good with Lady Luck, she'll suck you dry. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. All of what I learned about Lady Luck and I, and the ongoing affair that we continue to have to this day. This beautiful understanding of kind of like the ethereal thread that ties us all together, that spirituality that some people cling to and refuse to call like Christianity. But for me, I am religious. And I'm not saying Vegas is a religious experience, but in some ways, it kind of is. Anyways, I'll talk to you next time. Thank you for listening.